How do you take responsibility for your own ongoing personal development? Are you ready to jump in? I've got you. So how do you take responsibility for your own ongoing personal development? If you're a leader, if you've got an organization that you are responsible for, if you're a parent, or even a responsible citizen of the planet, it's in your hands. Let's talk about 3 simple shifts that will allow you to take a higher level of control over your own personal development. Are you ready? I think the first and probably most important is to accept personal responsibility for where you are. I'm going to get vulnerable with you for just a minute because I haven't always been the positivity psychologist. In fact, there was a time when I was the depressed therapist. For the first part of my career, I practiced traditional psychotherapy. I went and got my PhD and my license as a psychologist, and I had a busy outpatient practice. And by busy, I mean you couldn't even get an appointment with me for weeks. I had a waiting list and negative cash flow for 2 quarters in a row. And with our young family and a tight budget, you can't sustain that. By the kind of math I do nowadays, not sustainable. And here I was at the lowest point economically, and it landed me in a bankruptcy. Now, without sharing the whole painful story with you, that's not where I planned to be. What do you do when life breaks the psychologist? And here I am in some dark pit with my head wrapped in a blanket, just feeling like a victim of my circumstances. One of my clients told me once, "You know, Dr. Paul, there's 2 kinds of people on this planet." And I'm like, "Please reveal. I'm a psychologist. I would love to know. What kind of people are there?" He said, "There are those who are humble, and there are those who are about to be." And I kind of chuckle at that now, but how true is that? Either we humble ourselves to learn what we need to learn, or our circumstances kick our butt to the point where we have to be humble. And you know how when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. I had already launched my podcast, Live on Purpose Radio, at that time, and my amazing guest that was scheduled for this particular week was Mary Louise Zeller. This octogenarian, that's a $10 word, in her 80s, she can kick you next Thursday. She's a 6th-degree black belt in Taekwondo. And Mary Louise is my guest at Live on Purpose Radio. She knew a little bit about my circumstance. And I still remember her leaning forward a little bit on that microphone, and she said, "Paul, the troops are not coming." And then she paused to let that sink in. And she followed it with this: "We are the troops." Wow. She might as well have kicked me. I'm glad she didn't. That would have really hurt. But she kick-started me into a realization of my personal responsibility for my own growth. Nobody else is going to do your personal development work for you. The troops are not coming. We are the troops. That was transformational for me because it got me out of that victim mindset into a productive, forward-moving motion to actually create what I now experience as my life. Who was going to save me? And I remember thinking, oh, when the economy changes, then I'll be okay. When those troops come, then I'll be fine, right? How long am I willing to wait for that? Or when the insurance companies finally figure out how to compensate psychologists fairly, then when those troops come, then I'll be fine. This is what I was thinking. Those guys that I invested with, as soon as they pay me back, when those troops come, then I'll be fine. And I'm sure they will. You know, as soon as they get out of prison, that's probably really high on their list to pay back Dr. Paul. How long are we willing to wait? Take personal responsibility. The troops are not coming. Have you had that moment? What I'm sharing with you is our story with my details. When have you experienced that? Will you drop something in the comments if you've had that realization as well? When did the lights go on for you that this is in your hands, that the troops are not coming? Share. I guarantee you're not alone. So what do we do when we realize it's our personal responsibility? What's next? The name of my whole practice is Live on Purpose. This channel is called Live on Purpose TV. It's all about intention. In fact, there's a nice double meaning there. Live on purpose means that you have a purpose and that you engage in that purpose on purpose, intentionally. When we take intentional control over our own growth, it means that we choose and select and purposefully lean in to what we're going to learn next, to the skill sets that we need to develop in order to achieve whatever it is that's on our mind to achieve. It doesn't just fall in our laps. Have you noticed this? So take it on purpose. I've noticed that a lot of people are really interested in personal development. They're not committed. Now, what is the difference? Interest, anybody can have interest. Oh, I'm interested in that, right? I can tell if somebody's committed because when they're committed, it shows in 2 documents, their calendar and their bank account. That's how I know that they're committed. If you are committed, you spend your precious life resources on whatever it is. I've asked some of my audiences before to ponder this question. What would you give your life for? Now that sounds dramatic, doesn't it? And it is. I make it really dramatic when I'm up there on the mic, on the stage. What would you give your life for? Because whatever you're doing right now, you are giving your life for. Connect with that. This is your life. This is it. What would you give your life for on purpose? That's what we get to be clear about. Because by default, we're going to give it however we're giving it. And default is strong, just like gravity. What happens when you park your car on a hill and leave the brake off? You never hear of someone falling up. So default is down, and if we're not intentional about it, that's what direction it's going to go. I invite you to just consider that and to be clear about what would you give your life for on purpose. There is some greater purpose that you know you have. Connect with that somewhere inside of you. What is that purpose? And if you don't know what it is yet, at least you know that it's there, and maybe there's some coach or some program or some book that you could lean into intentionally. Be intentional about your learning. And then let's get to the last point for today. Practice. It's practice that takes you from simply hearing or consuming or being exposed to the ideas, we'll put that down here at this level, to the next level up. It doesn't make any difference for all of this to get into your heart and head unless it actually gets into your shoes as well, so that it walks around in your life. Practice is what allows us to reprogram our brain. And your brain's already programmed, by the way. I invite you to notice that your native language, mine is English, comes very naturally to you. And it's not because it's an easy language. It's because you were programmed. And it's not just language. We were programmed in how we view the world. We were programmed in our relationship with money. We were programmed in how we look at our key relationships, in our spiritual life, in our physical health. We got programmed by people who didn't even give us a choice. One of my colleagues, he was joking around, I'm sure, but he came to my office one day and he says, "Hey, I'm writing a new book. What do you think of this?" And he said, "Nature or nurture. Either way, it's your parents' fault." And I'm like, I'm not sure I'm on board with the negativity of that kind of a title. But let's be real. We were programmed by people who didn't give us a choice. I'm not saying they did a bad job. In fact, I'm really glad that I'm fluent in English and all the other things that my awesome parents programmed me with. But there is some programming that serves us well, and there's other programming that not so much. If you want to reprogram, it requires practice, just like learning a new language would. Don't be surprised when your personal development journey involves cost and effort and continual practice to reprogram those neural pathways of your brain. The good news is it's possible. All of the research shows us this. You can reprogram your brain. These are trainable, learnable skills. And it's just like learning a language. Interest is not going to cut it. Commitment, no, that's different. Commit and then lean in with a practice of personal development. What's it going to take for you? Thank you for showing up here today and for leaning in. I'll go into some more depth for you about personal development. In fact, I've put together a full free web class for you where we'll do a deeper dive on the power of positivity. Watch this video next and I'll introduce that class to you.